for 135 years, you learn to do it well. For 135 years, we've been helping families through the hardest times of their lives. That's because we're a family as well. When your family loses a loved one, we're here to help. We're Brown Funeral Home in Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. We're here when you need us.
We have the tools, we have the talent. It's Miller time.
It's Miller time on Talk Radio WRNR. A look at local sports with the play-by-play voice of local sports, Matt Miller.
And a very pleasant Friday evening to all the listeners out there. Matt Crawford back in studio. Matt Miller once again out today. He will be back the next time we are on air, and that will be Monday from 5 to 6. Last day of me going solo this week. Hope everybody's enjoyed the show with Miller out throughout this week. We got a jam-packed show today. We're going to talk a little bit more about the NCAA rulings, or the NCAA rule changes, I should say, that we talked about yesterday involving the red shirt as a freshman or any time in a college football career, and the new transfer rules within the NCAA. We're going to catch up with new Shepherd football head coach Ernie McCook, talk about that, talk about the move to the PSAC. We have not gotten his opinion on that yet, and we'll talk about just how his first couple of months in the new role has gone as he took over in the end of January, early February time period, and is now through his first spring ball and now getting into camps and stuff throughout this summer. So we'll catch up with him after our first break before the bottom of the hour. This segment of the show brought to you by Brown Funeral Homes and Cremations, Robert Field and Sons, a family-owned full-service funeral home that has proudly served our area since 1880. Let's get started off with some baseball. Not a lot going on last night with our local teams regionally and teams that Nationals fans should care about. The Braves got a 4-2 win over the San Diego Padres. That was a game in Atlanta, meaning the Nats are a game and a half back because they didn't play last night, didn't have the ability to gain that half game back. They were a game back going into last night, and the Braves got the 4-2 win. The Phillies beat the Rockies. That was a day game yesterday. We gave you the score to that yesterday, but we will just give it to you again. That was a 9-3 win for the Phillies in the city of brotherly love. Tonight, a whole slew of games going on. Starting with our Washington Nationals. You can hear this game right here on Talk Radio WRNR. They're going north of the border, and I don't just mean the D.C. border. I mean the United States border. They're going to Toronto to face the Blue Jays. That is a 7:05 first pitch, 6:30 pregame right here on Talk Radio WRNR. That is a weekend series against the Blue Jays. So tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday, they will be north of the border in Toronto. Then they will welcome the Baltimore Orioles after a bye on Monday. The Orioles will come to town for a 3-game series, including a makeup for the first rendition of the Battle of the Beltway earlier in the season. Speaking of those Baltimore Orioles, had the day off yesterday. Trying to rebound tonight. They have lost 7 straight and 14 of 16. If you've listened to the show this week, we have emphasized how historically bad the O's have been this season so far. But again, they're not the only team. 7:05 first pitch, O's and Marlins tonight. That is a game in Bmore. So if you want to head down, you still got a little time to get to Baltimore if you want to catch that game, or anytime this weekend. It's a weekend series against the Marlins, who are one of those teams that is also struggling. So maybe an opportunity for the Baltimore Orioles to get a few wins this weekend, a few much-needed wins. 2 regional teams that are playing each other that a lot of people care about in this area. The Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cincinnati Reds. Start of that series is tonight, 7:05 pitch from Pittsburgh. Again, that is a weekend series today, tomorrow, and Father's Day Sunday. The Braves will continue their series against the Padres. It's an 8:05 start tonight in Atlanta. So a home game for the Braves in a series that is going to last the entire weekend. And to round it out, the Phillies and the Brewers start a series tonight. The Phillies heading to Milwaukee, an 8:10 first pitch for those 2 teams tonight, again starting a weekend series. Hopefully the Nats can get a little bit of a boost from what they had the other day when they were in New York. Again, split a series with the Yankees in New York, and Juan Soto stole the show. The 19-year-old phenom, a little bit older than 17, still a teenager and still doing crazy things for being a teenager. Just absolutely ridiculous the season he is having, batting .344, has 4 home runs, and is just hitting the ball all over the place. One of the best hitters on the Nationals roster right now, and it's looking more and more like the Nationals may put some money into their youth and not try to re-sign Bryce Harper at the end of the year. Harper struggling this year, hitting the ball like crazy, at least hitting the ball like crazy out of the ballpark when he makes contact. Only a .228 batting average at the moment, so he's going to have to pick it up if the Nationals want to catch up to the Braves. Still a lot of time left. The Nats are 1.5 games back of the Braves in the NL East right now. Some news out of the MLB before we go locally to minor league baseball. Rafael Palmeiro. Yeah, he was an Oriole. He was a Cub. He was a Ranger. One of the greatest hitters of all time, unless you think about the whole steroid issue. He wants to come back. He wants to make an MLB comeback. And while you may say, okay, how old is old Ralphie? 53. Not sure how many professional athletes in any of the major sports are going to make a full-on comeback at the age of 53. This guy's good. He was one of the greatest hitters of all time, steroid or not. I still don't know how much steroids have to do with how good of a hitter you are. I think the steroids may have helped a little bit on the power numbers, but still, Rafael Palmeiro, one of the greatest baseball players of his time, even going back to Mississippi State. Him and Will Clark were the Thunder and Lightning duo that ran the SEC for 4 years. Palmeiro ended his career with 3,020 hits, 569 RBIs in just a little bit under 3,000 games, 2,831. He last played in 2005. So it's been a while. But he believes, article on ESPN today, he believes that because of the shape he's in, he's lost 20 pounds since his last playing day. So his playing weight is down 20 pounds. He believes he's in shape enough to make an MLB comeback. I'm not sure I see it, again, strictly because of the age. If he wanted to make this decision a little bit earlier, I think he could have gotten a little bit more support. But at 53 years old, I'm not sure how many people are going to be willing to jump on the Rafael Palmeiro bandwagon. It could be another movie, another rookie-type movie with Dennis Quaid, where it's a late in his life or a late in his athletic life pitcher. But I just don't see a 53-year-old hitter / infielder making a career and even getting past AA ball unless it's some sort of stunt put on to sell tickets, which very well could be. He mentioned in that ESPN article he did not want to be an advertising stunt or a media stunt in any way, shape, or form, but he really believes he can still play. So we'll have to keep up with that and see if anybody's willing to give him a roster spot. Again, the minor leagues are weird with their season. They really have 2 seasons within one Major League Baseball season. So who knows? Maybe somebody at the single A or AA level will be willing to give Mr. Palmeiro a shot. Who knows? We will keep you updated on if anything happens with the 53-year-old former phenom. Speaking of minor league baseball, the Suns get a win last night, a big win that the Suns needed. They had dropped 3 straight to Lakewood prior to the final game against Lakewood last night. The Hagerstown Suns get the big victory 7-6. They will start a series with Columbia tonight, 7:05 first pitch, 6:05 tomorrow night from historic Municipal Stadium in Hub City. And Sunday, Father's Day, a 2:05 start. If you missed the interview yesterday with Sean Murnan, the play-by-play guy for the Hagerstown Suns, a lot going on in Hagerstown for the Sunday Father's Day festivities. So again, if you haven't gotten your dad anything special yet and he likes baseball, then drive over to Hagerstown. Again, there's a picnic before the game, starts at 1. And you can have a picnic with your dad, all the generic ballpark food, hamburgers, hot dogs. Grab a beer if you want to, if you're of that age. But take your dad over to Hagerstown to watch some baseball. Could be a fun day in the Hub City, as that is the last game before the All-Star break. Yep, the All-Star break in the minor leagues is in the middle of June. Again, with the scheduling in the minor leagues, that just is how the All-Star break is scheduled. It's next Tuesday. And there'll be a couple of Hagerstown Suns involved, even some members of the coaching staff, and you can hear that on the MILB.com website. That is minor league baseball website if you want to hear some local guys in an all-star game. And then they will have a second half of the season coming mid to late July. And again, it's just kind of funny the way minor leagues do their systems. But anyway, again, Hagerstown breaks a 3-game losing streak last night, winning 7-6 at Lakewood, coming home to face Columbia tonight, 7:05 first pitch. Tomorrow, 6:05 first pitch. And Sunday, Father's Day, a lot of stuff going on. First pitch at Municipal Stadium at 2:05. A quick scheduling note. If you're out and about tomorrow and your car happens to be dirty or you liked baked goods, stop by the Hedgesville Fire Department and support the Hedgesville Senior League. The West Virginia State Senior League playoffs are about to get underway, and the Hedgesville Senior League is hosting a car wash and bake sale tomorrow, the 16th of June, from 10 to 2 at the Hedgesville Fire Department. So support some local guys trying to make their way into the West Virginia State Senior League playoffs, and stop by the Hedgesville Fire Department and get a car wash, get a couple cookies, a couple brownies, and support a good local cause. All right, we got to get in our first break. When we come back, we will hear from Shepherd head coach Arnie McCook on how his first couple months have been, how the new NCAA rule changes may affect the Rams, not next year, but in years to come. And we'll hear about what he thinks about going up north to the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. All next on Miller Time.
I meet my buddies out on the lake. We're headed out to a special place.
Since 1877, Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies have proudly supported our local community. Farmers and Mechanics has the insurance products to meet your needs, including home, auto, farm, dwelling fire, business owners, and umbrella coverage. Please contact your local independent agency for a review of your insurance needs and ask for a policy from the company that knows you best. Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies, just off Edwin Miller Boulevard on Administrative Drive in Martinsburg. FMIWV.com.
I'm John Schriffen with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The first Super Bowl rings in Eagles history were handed out in South Philly on Thursday. Owner Jeffrey Lurie, who had waited 24 years for the opportunity, said he originally had something elegant in mind, but the players wanted them bigger and blingier. That's exactly what they got with 219 total diamonds on each ring. New Giants left tackle Nate Solder survived a scare when his knee got rolled up on during a scuffle in practice between Damon Snacks Harrison and rookie Will Hernandez. Soldier was fine, though, after getting checked out. Texans middle linebacker Bernardrick McKinney signed a 5-year deal Thursday. According to NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport, it's worth $50 million, with $21 million of that guaranteed. A pair of second-round picks also inked their rookie deals. Ronald Jones signed with the Buccaneers. Harold Landry came to terms with the Titans. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
This is John Greenhut, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, Power Swabs is the answer. In 5 minutes, you'll see 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. Even better, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes, and you're done. To try Power Swabs, call 1-800-679-0969. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free. 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969.
The national debt is now over $20 trillion. What happens next? Rising inflation, drops in the dollar's value. Some experts say another crash is coming. You can fight this, not with stocks or bonds, but with gold and silver coins in an IRA from Augusta Precious Metals. Call 855-858-5807 and learn how an IRA backed by physical gold and silver can hedge against inflation. Call Augusta Precious Metals right now at 855-858-5807 and get a free gold IRA guide.
Hello, this is Delegate Mike Folk, candidate for West Virginia Senate District 16. I want to extend my personal congratulations to all the Little League All-Stars this summer. As a former 3-sport athlete and Shepherd football player, I understand the importance of discipline, hard work, and perseverance, something our All-Stars have in common. As you continue your journey through this summer and your life, remember this quote from Hall of Famer Jerry Rice, who said, "Today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can accomplish what others can't." Best of luck and have a great tournament.
Wow, your yoga practice is really interesting.
Thanks. I've been working with a new coach.
What do you call that pose?
I call it sliding into home.
Huh. That would explain the cleats.
Ready to relax and release your inner sports fan? There's a place for that. Nationals Park. Your Washington Nationals take on the Baltimore Orioles June 19th through the 21st in the Beltway Series, presented by Innova. Visit nationals.com for tickets.
And welcome back into this Friday edition of Miller Time. The weekend is upon us. After 5 o'clock on a Friday, the weekend is here, and a special Father's Day weekend. So congratulations to all the fathers out there, and hope you enjoy your weekend. Watch some U.S. Open golf on this Father's Day weekend, and a tough U.S. Open right now. I mean, it is getting the best of some of the best that golf has to offer. Only two players, Zach Rose and Dustin Johnson, under par through 2 rounds right now. Or getting through 2 rounds, I should say. Not everybody has finished yet, but a tough U.S. Open this year. And the U.S. Open is one of those one of those majors that gets the best of even the best golfers in the world. All right, welcome back into Miller Time. Matt Crawford here with you. We mentioned yesterday about some of the new rule changes that are going to take place in the NCAA, on the football side of the NCAA, coming up over the next couple of seasons. One of those rules, again, just to go over with you, was the red shirt rule, meaning that the red shirt season, which is a lot of times a freshman season, used to be you couldn't play at all, or you could lose that red shirt year of eligibility. Now you can play up to 4 games and still be considered a red shirt. The other rule was a transfer rule. You no longer need permission from the school you are leaving from to transfer. And if you listen to the morning show with Rob Mario this morning, one of the Miller Time commentaries we do, I mentioned that I thought that was going to be the equivalent of like free agency at the college level and could impact the Division II level, meaning the Shepherd Rams locally, and it could impact the kind of players they get if you can just move from D1 program to D1 program. So I reached out to Shepherd head coach Ernie McCook yesterday and asked if I could do an interview with him today just to catch up on how his spring went and summer's going, and talk about how these new rule changes are going to affect the Shepherd Rams. We got our conversation started with just how this new role is going for him now that spring ball is done and summer is upon us.
You know what? It's been a great spring, great recruiting class. Our players did a great job with the transition. Our coaches have done an awesome job with the transition. Things are really sitting exactly where we would hope they would be here as we go through the middle of June.
All right, a couple of new rules that could impact Shepherd and really all of college football. On the first one, let's talk about the red shirt changes. Red shirts can now play up to 4 games. How is that going to impact your squad in the future?
Well, both those rules are for Division I this coming year. Both the new rules, they will affect us probably in 2 years when it becomes for all divisions. I think once it's in effect for us, it's going to be a really positive thing for our student athletes. When I first learned of it at our football coaches convention here in January and learned about it, I just think it's going to be fantastic that our kids can develop. It keeps guys engaged. It'll keep all the players engaged because they'll have an opportunity to play without losing a year of eligibility. The other thing is, as you get later in the season, we've carried players that we wanted to redshirt in the past, and just hoping not that we don't have an injury where we would have to play them. So I think it's going to be a positive thing for college football, and it's something that I'm looking forward to having within our program when we can do it.
The other rule change, which again for you guys will take effect in a couple years, it looks like, is the transfer rule. Do you think that's going to be a big impact when it comes to Division I kids maybe dropping down to that Division II level?
Well, I think so. There's a big deal in transfers every year. I think every program in college football, especially the lower levels, are always open to transfers that are good fits for their programs, for their institution. I know that for us, transfers in the past have always helped us. We've been very fortunate with the transfers that we've had, have been good fits here with the school, with our football program. Also academically, they're here to finish their degree or do things positively in the classroom. I think it's going to be a good thing. It gives the ability for athletes that make changes, if it's not a good fit for them. One of the things I think as you look at it, conferences will still be able to put restrictions on transfers. So I don't think you'll have people trying to cherry pick off of different rosters because, one, that would be a violation. The way I read it, the athlete, once he decides he notifies the institution he wants to transfer, they're going to be put into a national database. And then once they're in that national database, they can be contacted by anybody and have that free transfer exemption.
Now, you said you heard about all this at your coaches meeting. I haven't found on any of the articles yet that I've read. Is the 1-year ban on playing as a transfer still intact?
It is right now. But these two new rules are adopted in Division I. One of the things when I was reading Bill with the transfer rule, it's not going to go into effect till October. So I think instead of making it a July or immediate, the ability, because that could cause, I would think, disruption with kids, athletes wanting to leave places now. They're not going to put it in effect. Let schools kind of wrap their minds around it. Let athletic programs wrap their mind around it right now through this the first half of the academic year, the fall, and then kind of have a plan to move forward with it.
Was there any other rules announced that haven't been made that public yet that are going to impact the D2 level right off the get-go this season?
Not that I'm aware of right now. Everything's go as go. We've got a pretty solid preseason. With the new preseason rules that came into effect last year, I think we're going to be good to go with that. We have a great plan. I like the way our prep goes as we're kind of building our preseason to win that first game at Notre Dame College this fall.
All right, I know you're focused on this season, but I got to ask you the question since it's official now. What are your thoughts about moving to the PSAC in the 2019-2020 season?
I have a lot of confidence in our administration that when they've done some very detailed studying about it, evaluation to make the best decision for all our sports, for our whole athletic program for our institution. So I have confidence that they made a decision what they felt was best for our institution and our student athletes. And so everything I've learned about it, it's obviously very exciting. I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for the Pennsylvania Athletic Conference and the schools there. So I think it'll be good for our university. It'll be good for our athletic department. It's going to be a kind of a bittersweet deal because of our history with a lot of the institutions that we play. It's going to be difficult. It'll be hard to say goodbye to some guys that you've coached against for a long time, you've developed good friendships with, and you really enjoyed seeing year to year when you would play each other. I think the Mountain East Football Conference has done a great job. I think it's a lot of great coaches there that work really hard at recruiting and building strong programs. So I'm going to miss that part of it. But I'm also looking forward to what's in front of us in the future. But we are going to focus on this football season, our opener on the road against Notre Dame. That's our number one focus kind of as we move forward. So,
Coach McCook, thank you for the time, and we'll look forward to catching up with you as camp gets closer.
All right, thanks a lot. Take care, Matt. Bye.
Shepherd football head coach Ernie McCook on a little bit of everything surrounding the Shepherd football program. Nice to get a coach's perspective on those new rules and rules that I didn't know were only affecting the Division I level right now. When they had said NCAA, you just assumed that it would be any school that was in that NCAA, no matter what the division was. So still a couple years until it will take effect locally, assuming everything goes as planned at the D1 level. If they find out that this was a total mistake to make, I assume it'll never get to the D2 level and they'll retract it. But also could be interesting to see what conferences do to make rules to kind of flirt around the transfer rules that are going to be very, very interesting to see how things are shaken up. It should be an interesting couple years in college football to see how these two very player-friendly rules are going to impact the game as a whole. Well, we are just a couple seconds away from taking our bottom of the hour break. When we come back, we're talking the other form of football, the World's Games soccer, as the World Cup got underway yesterday. We will hear from Mark Serber of USA Hockey, a former commentator for the Fox Sports Network, and called some soccer with our own Rob Mario back in the day. We'll get his thoughts on the World Cup this year and the World Cup coming to North America in 2026. We'll hear from Mr. Serber next on Miller Time.
CBS News Update. President Trump says he's not fair, but a judge is sending his former campaign manager to jail while he awaits trial. Prosecutors said Paul Manafort needed to be behind bars because he allegedly tried to tamper with witnesses, and the judge agreed. CBS News legal consultant Thane Rosenbaum.
Essentially, the allegation is that he used WhatsApp. He and an associate were sending text messages to two people who were essentially going to be called as witnesses against him.
CBS News correspondent Paula Reed says this only increases the pressure on Manafort to tell prosecutors all he knows.
It doesn't get any more stressful or uncomfortable than this when you are considering whether or not to cooperate. Now, so far, sources have told me that Manafort is banking on a pardon.
Manafort had been confined to his home in Virginia, but special counsel Robert Mueller is bringing these new charges against him, all of which Manafort denies. CBS News Update, I'm Sam Litzinger.
Forecast. Weatherman Bob Kukin.
The weekend's here and the weather is awesome for a change. We've got temperatures back down into the upper 50s first thing tomorrow morning for the low. Light to calm winds and maybe a touch of fog first thing in the morning. Sunny and warm for Saturday with a high near 85. Sunny and hot for Father's Day Sunday. More humid too with highs into the lower 90s. And it's even hotter on Monday. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
We're talking with Joe Ferretti of Hammer, Ferretti, and Schiavone. Joe, how do you hire a personal injury attorney?
Rob, we believe you should look for an attorney who has a good reputation and the results to match. Ask around. We have a history of success representing folks who live here. You'll be convinced that my law firm is the one to handle your personal injury claim. Call Hammer, Ferretti, and Schiavone at 264-8505 for a free review of your case. Or contact us online at hfslawyers.com. At Hammer, Ferretti, and Schiavone, reputation and results matter.
It's time for your Berkeley County Health Department summer food safety tips. Today we're talking with Carol Harding about how long we can keep food outside in the summer.
Generally speaking, you shouldn't let things sit out longer than 4 hours. If you have any of the salads, like the tuna salad, macaroni salad, potato salad, you should ice them.
Anything with mayonnaise or something.
Anything with mayonnaise. So if you set that container out, try to put some ice around the entire container up to the brim.
Have a safe summer from the Berkeley County Health Department. For additional information, go to bchealthdept.org.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
So reports are surfacing. Kawhi Leonard has told the Spurs he does not want to play for them anymore and would like to be traded. There are some reports about a list that includes the Lakers, Clippers, and the New York Knicks. Day 2 of the U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills. Still a struggle for most. Dustin Johnson, though, continues to soar. He shot a 67, is 4 under for the tournament. Scott Piercy is even, and Tommy Fleetwood, Henrik Stenson, Charlie Hoffman are 1 over. Looks like Tiger Woods, Adam Scott, Sergio Garcia, all going to probably miss the cut. NFL has suspended Cowboys defensive tackle David Irving 4 games. Uruguay wins, Iran wins, Portugal and Spain, and a 3-3 draw. Cristiano Ronaldo, he poured in a hat trick. I'm Keith Irizarry. It's NBC Sports Radio and the NBC Sports Radio mobile app.
It's the Jeep Celebration event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Martinsburg. Stop in now for great deals on a great line of Jeep products. Get $1,000 cash back on a 2019 Jeep Cherokee with financing at 0% for 60 months. How about a new 2019 Cherokee Latitude 4x4, only $219 a month, or a 2018 Jeep Wrangler JK for only $296 a month. Get bonus cash up to $6,000 off a 2018 Renegade, plus $500 trade. Stop by and test drive a Chrysler Pacifica and get free movie passes. It's all at the Jeep Celebration event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty on Kelly Island Road, or online at millerschryslerjeep.com. All payments based on approved credit, taxes, tax, and processing fees extra. See dealer for details.
And welcome back into this Friday edition of Miller Time. The weekend is upon us and only 25 minutes left in our Friday edition of Miller time. Matt Crawford here with you. Matt Miller on his last day of official vacation. He'll be back in studio with me on Monday, and the gang will be back together. I'm joined in studio by our two interns that, if you're watching on YouTube on WRNR TV, you cannot see, but I'm joined by Anthony Bracken and Tyler or Kyle Webb, depending on who you ask around the studio. I believe we decided it'd be Kyler, right? Kyler Webb. So two interns have been keeping me company this week in Matt's absence. This segment of the show is brought to you by the Washington Nationals. June 23rd, the Nationals and the University of Virginia have teamed up for UVA Day at the ballpark. Again, that is Saturday, June 23rd. With the purchase of a special ticket, get a co-branded UVA and Nationals New Era cap and watch the Nats take on the Phillies. For more information, visit nationals.com. So something else that may be taking place in D.C. in 8 years could possibly be a World Cup game. Now, I don't know for sure if there's going to be a game in D.C., but one would think that if the World Cup is coming to the North American continent, which it is in 2026, as announced earlier in the week, that one of the spots would probably be the nation's capital. I mean, there's football stadiums in the new DC United Stadium will be built by then. Probably not big enough for a World Cup game attendance-wise. At least that's what I'm thinking. But FedEx Field right now, the home of the Washington Redskins, definitely big enough to host a soccer game. Has hosted many international soccer games throughout the years. And in 8 years, the Redskins could have a new stadium. I know that there have been a lot of talks that within the next couple months, Dan Snyder and his staff will announce the location of a new stadium for the Washington Redskins. So you would assume that there would probably be at least one game in the D.C. metropolitan area somewhere, or Baltimore. So within the D.C. area, within an hour or so drive of D.C., you would imagine that there would be a World Cup game. Well, this year's World Cup, which the United States is not in, they did not make the cut. So a couple of World Cup fans, including myself, are kind of tuning out the World Cup. Although I did with the interns today have the Spain-Portugal game on in the background, and Ronaldo did what he does. He had a hat trick, tied the game up at 3. That is how the game would end, was in a tie. So did watch a little bit of the World Cup, but I know that a lot of people, myself included, are soccer fans from afar when it involves a country. Not a huge MLS supporting across the country. I think that's pretty fair to say. Even a lot of the soccer fans in the United States are fans of other countries' professional leagues, like the Premier League and all the teams in Europe. So the MLS just doesn't get a lot of love here. So when the World Cup or the Olympics come around, it usually is a little spike in the soccer viewership just based on the fact that it's for your country. Well, that went down this year because the United States did not make the World Cup. They will make the World Cup in 2026 based on the fact that, well, they're automatically given a bid into group play when the World Cup comes around. So they're guaranteed to be in that World Cup. And earlier today, we got a chance to catch up with Mark Serber, who is with USA Soccer right now. Not involved with the team in any way, just involved with the U.S. Soccer organization. He used to do some play-by-play with our own Rob Mario of some semi-pro teams in the D.C. metropolitan area, has worked for Fox Sports in Los Angeles, covering the LA Galaxy and covering friendlies that would happen in the LA area with Fox Sports. And we want to talk a little bit about this year's World Cup and just about what the World Cup's going to mean coming to North America in 8 years from now. So this is our conversation from earlier in the day with Mark Serber from U.S. Soccer, I should say.
You know, so far things have pretty much gone to script. I think the only thing was I didn't expect Russia to run as rampant as they did. I thought Saudi Arabia would be a bit more compact in the back. They were shambolic, and now I think Russia has a lot more confidence going into this game with Egypt through those 5 goals, and they really showed that they do have some creativity offensively. However, I think that is a bit of an aberration for what this Russia team brings to the table, just because of the weakness of their opponent.
So far, just breaking the ice with games played in the World Cup. Still a lot of groups left to go. What do you see in the groups coming up all the way through the weekend?
It's going to be really fun. I think the France tomorrow will be exciting to see how they go into this game. It's been interesting right now watching Spain and how they're kind of reacting to everything that's happened with them and losing their coach, Lopetegui, just 2 games before the start of the World Cup. And also to see how teams that have such big burdens of expectation, a team like Brazil, a team like Belgium, it's easy to play at your best when you're in a friendly. Well, now all the cards are on the table. Do they go out and do they perform the way they have been, or does the weight of expectations get to them? And the other thing to look for is England. Is this the year that we ask every time they go into a tournament where they get back to the teams of 1990 and 1996, or are they going to have another spectacular fall from grace again? And if that's the case, how's it going to happen?
With the U.S. not in this year's World Cup, how would you judge the United States interest? I know still a lot of anticipation from soccer fans all around the country, but is it a little different with the U.S. not being in it?
It's absolutely different, because I think you have those casual fans who say, oh, well, I'm definitely going to watch the U.S. games. And then they get into those U.S. games and they say, you know what, I want to watch other games. And so now you don't really have that, let's say, icebreaker that you would have for fans who otherwise would have no interest. I read a stat somewhere that bars plan to lose something like $20,000 on projected on days that the USA would have played. And so it just goes to show kind of, what kind of gates that opens when you have the U.S. team that's in it and how far they would have gone in the tournament.
Still early on, but before we get into the North American continent hosting the World Cup, who is your pick this year to take home the trophy?
My pick's Brazil. I think that they not only have the attacking talent that they've always had, but they also have a very solid defense, which is something that was lacking in the past, especially 4 years ago with that 7-1 defeat to Germany. And on top of that, they also have skill in midfield and a player called Casemiro, who cleans up everything before it really gets to that back line. And of course, you have Neymar and Gabriel Jesus up top, who are at their best. And I think that they're a team that should go on and win every game they play in this tournament.
Over the past week, it was announced that Mexico, the United States, and Canada will host the World Cup in 2026. So 2 World Cups from now. How big is that for this area to get a World Cup coming back for the first time in the United States since 1994, I believe was the year I saw?
Yeah, it's huge, and the way I can describe it is, I don't really know how it's going to propel forward, but when you look back at 1994, going into that tournament, the USA didn't even have a professional league, and so 1994 launches Major League Soccer. Look at how far it's come since then. It got so many people who weren't interested in soccer into playing soccer. It really built the backbone on which the sport is based right now. So if you can imagine how much that World Cup did for soccer here in the U.S. and where we are now, that's how much further it's going to be propelled to the next level come 2026.
What does the United States soccer team have to do to put themselves in a position that they can be competitive in that World Cup when it comes to this area? I know it's a long way away, so a lot of things can change, but based on where they are now not making the World Cup, what has to change?
They're doing a good job right now because what they're doing is they've turned to youth. One of their friendlies earlier this year, the average age was just around 22 years old. And these kids have come through something that players in the past never came through, which is the U.S. Soccer Development Academy. And the training they're getting 5 days a week with games on the weekend, playing 10-month schedules. We're starting to see now, after 8-9 years, players who've gone through the entire phase of the Development Academy have now turned pro, and we're turning out much better players. And so you imagine another 8 years of that, and the players that we have now who have been producing for the national team since we failed to make the World Cup, they're going to be at their peaks in between 27 and 30 when 2026 comes around, and a new generation of players coming up through the development academies behind them. So I really think the strength is in the work that we do at the grassroots level and the work that we do with our development academies and our youth national teams, and I think we're already starting to see fruits of that. So 8 years down the line, it's going to be that much stronger.
The World Cup going to Canada for the first time in 2026, do you see it having the same sort of reaction it had in the United States back in 94 that you were referring to in Canada in 8 years?
Not to the same extent, simply because they only have 10 games, and places they're going are already hotbeds of soccer for Canada themselves. But I do think that anytime you host the World Cup and the home nation and its people get really into it, you are going to see some kind of boost for that country at every level of the game. But unless Canada has a league that that they either have in the Canadian Premier League that they're trying to launch now, and it's stronger down the line, it's not going to have the same kind of effect that it will have here in the U.S.
Well, Mark, we appreciate the time, and maybe we'll try to catch up with you as the World Cup goes on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Mark Serber of U.S. Soccer, not U.S. Hockey, as I may have said before. Sorry, I still got hockey on the brain because the Caps winning the Stanley Cup, just to as the interns stare at me like I'm never going to let that go. But interesting to get his take. Not a whole lot of soccer hooligans around the studio here. I'm not sure how nationally big soccer is in this area. I mean, I know it like it isn't everywhere. It's got its niche of people who are in to soccer at the major league level and the national level, but I'm just not sure how big of an area that the World Cup and the Olympics are for soccer. So it should be it was interesting to get his opinion on how our country is viewing the World Cup this year and how our country is going to accommodate the World Cup coming up in 8 years. Interesting for Canada. They have never hosted a World Cup, and the last time they were in the World Cup, 1986. They have never won a game in the World Cup. They've been in, 3 times? I believe we looked it up, and they were 0 for 3. 3 games, and they had not gotten a win yet. So it should be interesting for Canada. You heard from him. You heard from Mr. Serber, that there are certain pockets within Canada that are big in soccer. So it'll be interesting to see how soccer kind of evolves Canada as a country when it comes. So you know what you're going to get in Mexico. You know you're going to get a big soccer crowd down in Mexico. You know that when the U.S. is involved, it only amps up the love for soccer in the United States. So it'll be interesting in 2026, 2022. They're heading to Qatar. So that'll be also interesting in the Middle East with the heat nonetheless. I mean, you're thinking about how hot it's going to be in the middle of summer in Qatar. That should be interesting. Hopefully the U.S. is in there. You heard Mr. Serber talk about how the I don't want to say minor leagues, but the grassroots system is building up for U.S. soccer. So it'll be interesting to see what the next 4 years have in store for the United States. All right, we got to get in our final break of the show. And when we come back, we'll talk about the Redskins finishing up OTAs and talk about some news that came out of Redskin Park regarding Redskins fans and possibly being a season ticket member coming up this year with no wait at all. You're listening to Miller Time on Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg.
Looking for a full-service web design company right here in the Eastern Panhandle? Then look no further than Pro Design LLC, specializing in web design and development, web hosting, and application development. Pro Design is a locally owned company serving local clients since 1997 with a reputation of quality, creativity, and personal touch. Let Pro Design build or redesign your dream website. Find them online at professionaldesign.com or phone 304-676-9940. Since 1877, Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies have proudly supported our local community. Farmers and Mechanics has the insurance products to meet your needs, including home, auto, farm, dwelling fire, business owners, and umbrella coverage. Please contact your local independent agency for a review of your insurance needs and ask for a policy from the company that knows you best. Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies, just off Edwin Miller Boulevard on Administrative Drive in Martinsburg. FMIWV.com.
You think back to when your daughter was the tiniest, sweetest, softest, prettiest, most precious little person in your life. She cried and your heart raced. She smiled and you laughed. She said, "Mama," and you cried. Hi, this is Lori from Bechtel Jewelers. I know she spent a lot of time in your arms, by your side, in your lap. The years have flown, and she outgrew your lap, but she never outgrew your heart. Your girl is graduating now, and a gift she will wear and treasure forever is a heart pendant. Each time she looks at it, she'll know she's always in your heart. Wherever she goes, you'll be together. At Bechtel Jewelers, Route 11 South in Inwood, our heart pendants start at just $99 in sterling silver. You'll find them in gold, too. Some have gems, some are sprinkled with diamonds that twinkle like she does. You'll find one that fits her, sort of like the way she used to fit in your lap. At Bechtel Jewelers, Route 11 South in Inwood.
The WVU Medicine Spring Mills office building is now open. This new 3-story, 40,000 square foot facility is conveniently located off Interstate 81, exit 20 at the intersection of US 11 and Campus Drive. The WVU Medicine Spring Mills medical office building features many different offices and services for area residents. It's now home to urgent care, women's imaging center, lab services, and primary care pediatrics. The WVU Medicine Spring Mills office building now open to serve you.
We'll talk Redskins football next on Miller Time.
The Mountaineers live on Talk Radio WRNR.
It's intercepted. Here's Kenny Robinson down the right sideline. It's going to be a foot race. He's at midfield. He's to the 40, being pursued. He gets away to the 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. End zone. Touchdown. Kenny Robinson, 94-yard pick six.
Follow the Mountaineers all fall long on their quest for a Big 12 championship on your home for Mountaineer football. Talk Radio WRNR, the Panhandle Sports radio station. And we welcome you back into this Friday edition of Miller Time. Just a few minutes left in today's show before it is the weekend. And as you heard from Bob Kukin at the bottom of the hour, should be a sunny weekend, but should be a hot weekend, especially come Father's Day Sunday. Again, if you have nothing to do on Father's Day Sunday, head out to Hagerstown and see the Hagerstown Suns play. A lot of stuff going on for that special Father's Day Sunday, and catch the game at 2:05, so not even a late one. Also, if you happen to be out and about and in the Hedgesville area tomorrow, June 16th, from 10 to 2, go get a car wash and a cookie at the Hedgesville Senior League Baseball Car Wash and Bake Sale. It is trying to raise funds for the state senior playoffs across the Mountain State. Again, that's the Hedgesville Senior League Baseball Car Wash and Bake Sale, and that is tomorrow, the 16th of June, from 10 to 2 at the Hedgesville Fire Department. Go out and support a good cause. All right, we were talking about the World Cup when we went into our break, and now we're going to talk some NFL football. It's mini camps were the last couple days, and that's why we've had some Redskin topics on the show the last couple of days. Still a couple months away from that first preseason game, and another month after that away from getting into the actual regular season games for the NFL. So right now, still baseball season, and especially all baseball season for the next month until training camp comes back around for NFL players. Again, the last couple days and the last month or so have just been optional mini camps or mandatory mini camps for the last couple of days around the NFL. Training camp, the big practices don't start until Thursday, July 26th for the Washington Redskins. I'm not sure if that's the same for every team around the NFL, but for our Washington Redskins and the Baltimore Ravens, it's Thursday, July 26th. So stay tuned for that coming up in a little over a month, and we'll try to have as many reports as we can from down at training camp, as there's a little bit of a new regime in D.C. Again, some new faces coming, and a little bit of expectations going into the new season. Obviously, there's expectations at the beginning of every season, but you bring in Alex Smith, you have some good draft picks into Ron Payne and Darius Geis, and there's some optimism around Ashburn this time of year that maybe is there every year, but I think it's a little bit higher than usual this season. All right, let's hear from Jay Gruden. He was at the podium today to finish out mini camps, and this is what Gruden thought just about how his team performed throughout the mini camp session.
I think it went great. You know, like I said the other day, I said the most important thing in my mind was to get these guys in great physical shape. And I think Chad Englehart, his staff did a great job. And then Larry Hess and the trainers did a good job getting the guys, trying to get them back to full health, the guys that were injured. And then I want them to learn the system, try to get as much as we could installed. We did a great job of that, I think, so that when they come to training camp, they're ready to roll. And then, of course, just get to know each other so they can learn to play together, work together as a team. And I think we accomplished what I set out to accomplish.
Again, a lot of new faces around Redskin Park this year with the draft picks, with Alex Smith coming in, the new leader on the field for the Washington Redskins. But the coaching staff has remained whole for the last couple of seasons, which I think is good to get consistency, especially when you're bringing in big components that are going to change year to year. It's good to have a similar defensive playbook, a similar offensive playbook going into training camp. And again, you have the addition of a Paul Richardson on the outside. He's not going to be anything extremely flashy, I don't expect, but I think he's a guy that can give you 60 or 70 receptions max a year and can get you 600-700 yards a year. Again, I don't think he's going to be a 100 reception kind of guy. I don't think he's going to be a 1,000-yard reception kind of guy, but I think he adds stability to the outside and is another weapon for Alex Smith, who, if he has Jordan Reed healthy, is going to be dangerous. Again, Josh Doxson showed a lot of promise in his sophomore season after a rookie year that was plagued by injury. So he's got a good bit of weapons, and it should just be interesting to see once training camp rolls around in the preseason how those weapons gel together going into the regular season. Gruden also talked about the month off now. Again, the mini camps ended yesterday, and July 26th is when training camp starts. So a little bit over a month that the players have completely off. And this is what Gruden had to say on that time off and what he expects from his players.
Progress. We can't degress. I think they've put themselves in a great situation to hit training camp in great shape. We don't want to have happen these guys to go to the beach and, drink a bunch of iced teas, whatever they do, and Cokes, and eat popcorn and donuts and gain 20 pounds. And then we have to start all over, strip them back down and start all over. I don't think that'll happen. Everybody understands. I think the beauty of this is everybody understands we have more depth here, and we're not going to really have time for you to get in shape. You better come in shape and compete for your job and compete to make this roster. Otherwise, we have a lot of guys here that can play, and I think they see that.
And that is something the Redskins have not had in a few years, is depth and quality depth on their roster. Injuries have been a big issue in DC for the Redskins for the last couple of years. That's not an excuse as to why the Redskins have been down over the past couple of years, but definitely something to look at when you look at the offensive line, the defensive line, the secondary, and there are guys that are starters that weren't on the team past training camp or past the second preseason game. So I think having depth and quality depth is going to be a big role this year, and maybe make those starters play a little bit better, try a little bit harder. But even if they were to go down with injuries, unforeseen, obviously, but you're going to have guys that can step up and fill their shoes that are also going to be quality players. So it should be interesting this year to see what the Redskins put on the field and if everybody can stay healthy. Well, if you want to see the Redskins live this year, at least all the home games down at FedEx Field, you can right now, today, actually not right now, the ticket office is probably closed by this time, but you can be on the Redskins season ticket list. But it's no longer a waiting list. You're just a member. You call now, and you can be a Redskins season ticket holder for the first time since the 60s. There is no wait list to be a Redskins season ticket holder. Just amazing. I mean, the tradition of Redskins football and how it has declined since the Dan Snyder regime has began, that there is no longer a need for a waiting list for season tickets. Call today, get the entire season. You're still going to pay an arm and a leg. They haven't reduced ticket prices yet. But right now you can call and get tickets without being on any sort of waiting list for the first time since the 60s. That just shows you the state of this franchise and how fans are a little bit fed up with what they've seen over the last real couple decades. It's gone past a couple years. It's now in that decade range where you've thrown in years here and there, a couple with the Gibbs Part 2 era in the mid-2000s, but it's been a tough 2 decades since Dan Snyder took over to be a Redskins fan. But if you are a season ticket holder, you now get perks when you go to the stadium. You get some rewards packages. You get a discount on concessions. So the Redskins have finally admitted that they're struggling with season ticket holders, but are now trying to find a way to make it worth your while when you get season tickets. So just food for thought as we end today's program. Thank you for tuning in this week with just me solo. Hope I gave you an enjoyable ride home. Matt Miller back Monday. We will see you then 5 o'clock Monday evening. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Miller Time on Talk Radio WRNR.
Here's your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. Both the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department and Spring Mills High School